What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Highside podcast. I'm joined here with Mr. Josh Adams. And Josh, it looks like we're starting to close out the season here. We don't have many episodes left to film.
Yeah, definitely not. We've got four races left on the Cup Series schedule. Four very different tracks. We maybe didn't think we would have gotten this far. When we started this some 30 weeks ago or so, but we're still here. Look forward to the rest of them.
It doesn't, honestly, it really doesn't even feel like it's been that long. But as we start to get to, close this thing out, we've got what do we got coming up this weekend? I don't have the schedule pulled up in front of me. I'm trying to, but Las Vegas. I assume that's where we're going.
Yep, Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville for the round of 8.
And man, it's a bummer because I really want to watch. I wish I could watch these races, but obviously my work schedule doesn't give a crap about me watching this stuff. So bummer. I'm gonna miss Talladega, which is actually pretty fun to watch in these cars, especially when they're racing and not running around at 3 seconds off the pace trying to make their fuel last longer. But yeah, it sucks I get to miss all this. So I'm glad you're here to at least keep me up to speed. But well, I guess we'll just go ahead and get into Charlotte. Shane Van Gisbergen. Are we ready to call him the best road course driver to ever come through not only the NASCAR Cup series but NASCAR in general?
Yeah, I think so. I think we referenced Denny Hamlin and his podcast quite a bit. They kind of talked about it this past week, where he's basically said he's ready to do it. So, if somebody that is racing against him in the same era as him is willing to say it, I'm willing to say it as well. Like what he's done this season has been phenomenal, and just his first full time season, and only like his eighth or ninth road course race all time, something like that. To have 5 wins this season and 6 all time is incredible.
Yeah, for for a man that came in from a completely different motorsport, luckily the car was fairly similar. Uh, I'm pretty sure he's gotten a lot of firsts. Winning in his first start. Obviously, he's not the only one to do that, and that somebody else have had to have done that. Um, winning. How many races is he at now? Like most wins as a rookie in the Cup Series.
Yeah, he's up to 5 this season. So technically, as a rookie driver, you could technically say 6, but the record for the season, he's got 5.
So, how many road courses has he done altogether, and how many of those road courses has he won?
Let's see, I just had this up a little bit ago. Just give me a quick second here. So as we mentioned before, he's won 6 of them. There's been 6 this season that he won 5, and based off the tracks, he's done 2 total races on the Roval and won 1. Um, he has the Indianapolis GP. He did one of those when they ran that. One of the few races he didn't win. Mexico City was a win. Sonoma, he has 1, and he won. And he's ran Watkins Glen twice and won one of them. I don't think I left anything out. I don't know if I mentioned Coda or not. Coda had 2 races. So he's right there around 8, 9. 9 races. 9 races, 4 wins on road courses in the Cup Series.
You said 9 races and 4 wins.
That's not exactly accurate either. That's just they don't have that updated. But yeah, 9 races.
Mm, that that's got to be so. So Another question. And I don't know if you would even have access to this answer. This is based off of my own curiosity, just talking about the guy. But is he the only Cup driver to have as many wins as he does that are only road courses?
Yeah, like you said, I don't have access to that, but yeah, I would say so. Because when you go back and look at guys that have won, the most road course races, I actually had that pulled up a little bit earlier too. But yeah, he would definitely be one of the only ones because some of the other guys were definitely just regulars. So for sure, he would be.
Either way, incredible. It's it's cool to like see this. I kind of missed out on the Jimmy Johnson era. I didn't watch during that domination. Um, so it's cool to kind of like see firsthand or or really coexist alongside it. Somebody come into a series that and NASCAR fans are proud of their NASCAR drivers. I think many of them will say that NASCAR drivers are the best drivers in the world, and for somebody to come in from down under, completely different car, and obliterate anyone at a I mean, it's laughable how far ahead. It's like he has a 9,000 or an 8,000 I rating, and everyone else has a 2,000 I rating.
Oh yeah, for sure. When you've got the NASCAR insights, they provide like different um, categories for who's the best at what. And I'm sure when it comes to the road course racing in just one full time season, Shane Van Gisbergen will probably be number one in every single category.
He's and you know what? He's a likable guy too. Like it's not somebody that you can like, or at least for me anyway. Maybe your opinion might be different, but whenever Jimmy Johnson and Chad Knaus were doing their like complete domination for those 5 years straight, a lot of people hated him or hated
Yeah.
that group. But I don't know that we like. Is that a thing for SVG? Does he have like haters?
Uh, I'm sure he does, but they're probably in Australia. It would be my guess. Yeah, he dominated over there for so long, won so many races that that's just typical for sports fans of the opposite team or other drivers. I think it's typical to start hating the guy that you see win all the time. He's definitely not there yet in NASCAR, nor probably will he ever be. But who knows if he goes in next season is able to win on all 5 road courses and then backs it up with 5 oval wins. I'm sure people will start hating on him.
Yeah, it's just a threat everywhere you go to. I
Yeah.
was thinking about that
No.
when I was listening to Hamlin the other day. I wonder what it would be like if he had the same like skill gap even on the ovals. Like, how
Yeah,
bad would that be?
that would be insane. We'd be talking about him in the same category as like Gordon Johnson, Earnhardt already. It wouldn't even be close. But until that happens, we'll be talking about him with Gordon and Stewart on road courses.
I did have a question for you directly. What is your opinion? Because you've been watching the sport a long time. How do you feel about somebody coming in from a completely different series and just crushing the field at road courses?
I, there's probably a couple different opinions with that, but I think my opinion is like I love it. We like to say that NASCAR has the best drivers in the world, and for that to be true, the best drivers from all over the place need to be in one spot. And if you can come and beat guys that have done it for 10 plus years longer than you, then you're definitely one of the best in the world. So um, he's earned pretty much every accolade he's gotten to this point, and he's not going to stop anytime soon. But yeah, I'm definitely a fan. I don't. None of us would say that he's our number one guy, but um, just seeing somebody come in on such a short time period, like he's done, like we said, in just 9 races, and just take one discipline um, to a whole new level is something we'll probably never see again.
Yeah, I can't even imagine what it would feel like for like as a driver, because you and I, we can put ourselves in like the shoes of maybe maybe we're in a league and you're dominating in this league, and then all of a sudden somebody comes in and they just have like a better I rating or something. I can't imagine what it's like for the Kyle Larsons and the Chase Elliott's, the Joey Logano's, the Blaney's, to be like top drivers. Well, I just listed random names, but like if you were to like focus on the guys who always dominated the road course races, now they're
Yeah,
just irrelevant. I don't know how that would feel.
yeah, pretty much. Really, in a head-to-head battle, there's really only been one guy that's beat him, and it's been Zilich in the Xfinity Series and Chris Buescher last year, Watkins Glen. Other than that, it's just been kind of, if somebody else has won, it's just a race that he wasn't there at the end, really.
Didn't he finish second to McDowell at Indy, or was that someone else? Might have been
Uh,
Allmendinger.
no, yeah, I don't think he did.
Yeah, that's insane. Um, well, enough about Shane Megasberger, unless you have anything that you wanted to mention. You said you might have had some stats you wanted to mention about him, unless we just went through all that.
Oh yeah, that. But one other thing I was going to say about how you said, there's the drivers that have been around for a while. Like you wonder how they feel about it. Well, we remember, when he came in and won the Chicago Street Race, and everybody's just like, wow, what just happened? And everybody got out of their car after the race, and they're like, man, that's kind of embarrassing. We've been doing this for a long time, and this guy just, dog walked us. I think if you look at an example, I don't know if you saw the last run of the race, any highlights or anything. Gisbergen had to pass Kyle Larson on his way to the win at the Roval,
Right.
and he contacted Larson a little bit in turn 1 or 2, and the way Larson took that, he definitely didn't like it. That he got back into Gisbergen 3 or 4 times within like the next 2 laps, and then Gisbergen came back on him and passed him clean. So, when you wonder what these other guys are thinking, Larson was definitely thinking like, I don't want this guy to beat me again, and he still did. So
It's got to
yeah,
be like salt in the wound for like Larson to, because like this guy is significantly better, and he's like running into you. Like, really, guy, you're gonna
yeah,
pass me anyway. Why you hitting me?
yeah, yeah. So there's the guys that you mentioned, like our league stuff and everything. Like there's guys that we raced with on iRacing that we expect to go to whatever track on whatever week and probably just win. Yeah, Larson was one of those guys, is one of those guys that you expect to go to any track on the schedule and just win. Yeah, unless he's up against SVG, and that's pretty fun to watch. But I did I did have a few stats, as you had mentioned. He went to pass Larson in that race and went on to win another race by 10 plus seconds. He's now done that three times in one season, and back to, like, I think I was reading like 2000. It's only happened like 7 other times, and Gisbergen has 3 of them. Um,
Damn.
so I mean that's definitely crazy. I think they started electronic scoring in like '93, so that doesn't even go back very far. And only 10 times since 2000, and he's done it 3 times in one season. It's incredible. But one other thing too, we probably mentioned it after whichever race he did at Mexico or Watkins Glen, whatever. But he just broke again his own rookie record for the amount of race wins in a season by a rookie. And like you mentioned earlier, they're all on road courses. He broke the record from Gordon with 3, and then went to win 4 and 5. So he's done that, which is pretty incredible. Um, and then he's now also tied with Jeff Gordon in for second with most career road course wins in a row. Gordon holds the record at 6. So by next season, I think it's Watkins Glen. If he's able to win COTA, he can break Gordon's record at Watkins Glen. So we'll have to watch out for that next year.
That would be nuts.
And then I think my last nugget, we talked about whether he's just already kind of the all-time great or not. He's now tied for 4th all-time in road course wins with 6. There's a bunch of guys that have 6, but he's behind only Gordon, Stewart, and Elliott. So he definitely has a chance to take number 1 next season.
I know that we're in an era where he's able to do like 2 or 3 times the amount of races in one season that those other guys had to do. I believe those races only being the Glen and Sonoma at the time, but that is still an insane stat.
Yeah, it's definitely everything. I think everything he does is pretty insane when it comes to that particular discipline. We hope he continues to get better on the ovals, which we saw him come home in 10th at Kansas for his first career oval top 10. So that was pretty good to see.
That's
but SVG aside, we'll probably get back to the Roval, but because we haven't even talked about some of the other stuff, but NASCAR 25 did just drop for certain people. And talking about SVG, how many races do you think people have already won on ovals with SVG on the new NASCAR 25 game? Make him a standout oval driver and road course driver on the video games.
I'll say 88.
That's a good one. Definitely a possibility that he's already got 88 career wins on NASCAR 25.
Yeah, they got. I got to. Hopefully, I can check that game out soon. It wasn't like a priority of mine to get that because Battlefield just dropped, so that's what I picked up.
Yeah, I think I haven't seen a lot about it, but did you see any of Carson Hocevar streaming his playtime on Twitch the other night?
I seen him try to ramp out of the infield of Bristol.
Yeah,
I that's what I saw.
Yeah, I don't think it doesn't look possible to ramp out of the infield, but he finally got himself over the gate. So he was talking about how he's the first one ever to do that on the game. So now you've got people in probably multiplayer sessions getting like 20 guys in the same race trying to go and ramp the building at Bristol. Probably a mess.
That's got to be fun to check out. Hopefully soon. And we're tied in with JUICYSPYDR Gaming. Maybe we can throw some of our races up or something. I know Chris is playing the game a lot. Maybe we can do something with him. But yeah, back as far as the Roval, we actually have a couple things we'll tie into, but mainly we'll talk about the incident off the final corner. To be honest, I'm not even sure what position it was for. I keep hearing different numbers. I think it was for 21st or something.
Yeah, it might have been a little bit further ahead than that, but it's in the ballpark at least. It was an irrelevant position on the racetrack as far as just the order, but super relevant as far as the 1 point was concerned.
Yeah, and Chastain, obviously, everyone already knows at this point. It was the bigger story, obviously, for the whole playoff deal, but sent it in there on Hamlin. Not sure necessarily what his primary goal was. They both ended up spun. I don't foresee them not spinning out of contact like that, but if that was his goal, it was a epic fail. But on one hand, Obviously, he's got to do something to try to keep his playoff hopes alive. On
Yeah,
the other hand, we've already frowned upon moves like that with Austin Dillon at Richmond.
yeah,
So I think either way, he was just SOL. Like his season was signed off at that point. So
yeah. It's it's good to see basically the love for the game, if you will, by Chastain. We saw it obviously with the Hail Melon at Martinsville, and after that they outlawed that tactic. The only way he was going to make the final turn at the Roval work was to use another car as a brake, because if he just misses the corner, he's going to get disqualified because he's not going to stop in time. So it's good to see that he was aware of what he needed to do, um, but at the same time, he kind of put himself in the desperation mode when he missed the corner coming back onto the oval backstretch in the first place. He kind of gave Hamlin a big run on the inside. So it's good to see. Also, bad to see, depending on, what your take is on it, whether you think it's dirty or what is probably irrelevant, when it just comes to the 1 point. We heard Logano talk about, the playoffs give you drama, and that was definitely drama, and I'm sure 90% of the fan base probably loved it, but you won't get that kind of drama with some other formats or systems or whatever. So
yeah, Hamlin was talking about it. And he wasn't really given a lot of information there anyway. Obviously, he would have stayed behind the one car. Um, if I'm Hamlin, I'd rather race him at Phoenix than Joey Logano.
yeah,
So
I
kind of
think some
surprised.
of yeah, I think some of his comments were maybe hard to believe. Um, when he was talking about not knowing what the position was for, and like he didn't get the information. I don't know if I buy that or not. Um, I'm sure they had to have been telling him something, but he kind of said after that if he knew it was Joey, he would have stayed behind him, but he claims he didn't. Um, which it's hard to say, because I feel like everybody knew what was going on somewhere in the race, just based off of some kind of communication. Because I think they tried to talk about how NASCAR didn't want teams talking about points and positions and yada yada yada, but um, Logano had his spotter basically telling him who was in every position, how many points behind he was, points ahead he was, whatever. But we also heard a handful of drivers, spotters, telling them to save their tires, coincidentally on the last lap of the race, not to pass Ross Chastain. So that's kind of crazy to me too. I think we heard that from Bowman, and I forget who the other one was, but they were told to save their tires on the last lap just in case. There couldn't even be another restart.
That's odd. I didn't know about all that. But
Yeah, it's just that's their way of saying, don't pass that guy. But what's the reason to save your tires on the last lap of a race when you're not doing any more racing once you cross the line?
yeah, run the tires off of it.
Yeah, that must have been when they have their competition meetings, and they know that they can't talk about positions, and maybe you know throttling down a little bit to let somebody go or whatever. They know they can't say any of that, so they just have to give them cues, and that is probably just kind of code.
Yeah. Um, we've seen a lot of weird shit with this whole format. People doing things that with the lack of a better example or a better term, but it's like very F1 team order, not giving your all. It's gotten political. I
Yeah,
don't care about all the politics that are happening with modern NASCAR. I miss the old days of people just run into each other. You remember when teammates would just be mad at each other? I kind of miss that era.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember there was the pit road, a little bit of a pit road altercation between Carl Edwards and Matt Kenseth at Martinsville one year when Carl kind of pulled a fist on him. Don't know if don't know if that was serious or not, but that was kind of funny.
I like, yeah, that one. Um, Jeff Gordon and Jimmy at Texas, I think it was.
Yeah. I know
Like,
Jeff Gordon cried a lot about Dale Jr. at like Daytona and Talladega when they were teammates.
so I just miss that era. It just seemed like everybody, even though you're teammates, it was you're worried about yourself. You're worried about your own team. You don't really care about your teammate. Even
Yeah.
one of the greatest battles we've seen on track in the last 15 years is that Atlanta race between Jimmy and Jeff. Like,
Yeah.
that is amazing. Like, where's that stuff at? What is this politic crap?
Yeah, like when we're doing, to bring it up again, when we're doing our races, I know, like, I expect you to try and beat me. You expect me to try and beat you. I know, like Nick and Jared who are in here with us, they expect the same. They don't want easy passes or the an easy way out. They want to earn it themselves, and that's what I would expect if I was out there doing it. Is I would expect my teammates to race me just as hard as they do anybody else, especially on the last laps. And that kind of brings back up Kansas when you say you're just kind of out there for yourself and your own team. That put Denny Hamlin in a really awkward position at Kansas because being a um, owner and driver and driver for his own team at Gibbs. When he's out there as a driver and an owner racing his driver for a win, he's got to be Joe Gibbs first and not 2311.
Yeah, that's a great example, honestly. And whatever anyone's opinion is of Hamlin, or whatever your opinion is of whatever happened or conspired at the end of Kansas, you cannot deny Denny Hamlin drove 100% in the
Yeah,
final corner. He gave it
yeah,
everything he had to try to win for his team.
yeah, and that's just again like if me and you were racing for a championship tomorrow on iRacing, I would expect you to probably try and ship it in on me and just hope it sticks.
That's all we can do, man. That's this whole, and is it just me, or is it like really bad with the Chevrolets? Specifically the Chevrolets.
Yeah, yeah, it's funny because yeah, they have these, especially Toyota. They have these meetings where it's Toyota or nobody. There was 5 Toyotas up there in position to win that race, and they still handed it to Chevrolet, which really, when you go and watch like Daytona and Talladega, there's all the manufacturer alliances. It seems like Ford does it better than anybody, and then probably Toyota, and it seems like the Chevrolets outside of maybe recently, where it seems like the Hendrick drivers have worked a little bit better together. Um, it seems like they always kind of just end up on their own at some point, and I think a lot of times that's how you got to do it. Is not necessarily worrying about where your teammates are or where your other Chevrolet is. Just put yourself in the best position to win for yourself.
Yeah, that'd be that kind of I kind of miss the era the restrictor plate racing when they allowed because they did the tandems at the time and they allowed two drivers to be on the same channel. I kind of
Yeah,
miss that. That was pretty cool.
yeah. That the one race that communication thing really comes back on is, I think it was 2011, maybe when Jimmy Johnson won at Talladega in the 4 wide photo finish, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. was on his radio basically just telling him what to do. They were tandemed up, I think, back in like fifth and sixth. And Junior was just telling Jimmy what to do, and they ended up winning the race. And
Kind of
then I
like,
always remember, what were you gonna say?
go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say I always remember there was a Talladega race or something where somebody communicated something to Jamie McMurray, and this was back when he was teammates with Juan Pablo Montoya. He's like, "Oh no, I got to go back and get Juan. You go and do your own thing." Yeah,
I
that's those little things that were probably stupid when it was happening, but it's like, man, that was pretty cool. Just let them kind of have at it with each other.
Yeah.
Bring some of that cool stuff back.
Yeah, maybe, and that's going to twist us right into the second part of the discussion, and that is the playoffs. There's been a lot of stirs, and I mean, a lot of people are pretty confident. I might have missed something, but they believe that it's actually just not going to have a playoff system next season.
Yeah, yeah. I think we've probably all been hearing a lot of stuff, and yeah, I don't know if none of us regular people know what's going to happen, but um, I'm pretty confident there won't be. Whether it's some form of a chase format again, or if they do go back to full season, will they still run stage racing? How will they do all that? Like, I think it will be pretty interesting. But I think there's some of the formula that they've got going on right now that I feel like needs to stay. Maybe not the final 10 race by race elimination, all that. Like, they'll do something different. But I feel like whatever they decide to do, whether it's a last 10 chase with 10 or 12, maybe even 8 drivers, whatever, I think they need to keep doing the stage racing and make every lap of every single race matter, and not just kind of your finishing position.
Yeah, somebody made, I forget who it was, but they made the point too, because I was kind of open to the idea of not having stages, but then somebody had mentioned um, that the stages are there, uh, or because the stages are there, it makes this long ass race more important at different parts of it, and
Yeah,
that's honestly been one of my complaints, um, as of probably the last few years. I feel like the way these races have been, or they just seem a bit drug out. They're strung out so long, um, and I for a while there I felt like there's no need for any more of these 400 and 500 mile races. But I think having these stages in there, even if they were to throw one more in there, would make it, um, a little easier to swallow when we're not having these, another Martin Truex at the Coca-Cola 600 or whatever it was, where he
yeah,
was leading 392 out of 400 laps or whatever.
yeah,
So
yeah. It'll be interesting. Like I say, like I think one thing that a lot of people have talked about is a lot of times in just the straight from the Daytona to the finale point schedule, like they used to run, you would see a guy maybe wrap up the championship with 3 or 4 races, 5 races remaining. Which, if somebody does that, then whatever, they were the best driver. But um, I think the stage points and is kind of another incentive to run all the races at 100%. And I think we've seen that it probably helps the competition to stay a lot closer. As evidenced by like every single time we get to at least one of these rounds or two of these rounds in the playoffs, as we know it. Um, every position seems to matter, like for the cut line by 1 point at the end of it. So it definitely the having the ability to go in and get 20 points if you dominate a race and maybe you finish 30th is huge. That definitely um, can affect your season in a positive way and hurt somebody else, which I think is just another layer that I feel like needs to be there. Like I think it's been successful enough that I'd like to see it stay.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't have any issues with them. Whether or not
It's
they
like
throw yellows or whatever, I
yeah,
don't really know about all that, but
yeah, whether you want to see the cost or not, irrelevant. But I think I feel like that extra um, drama layer of the race is good if they done the right way, and I think right now it is. Sometimes they run the costumes a little bit too long, but if that's the only thing we have to complain about, then that's whatever.
yeah, I'd like to see what a stage driven season would be like on a full 36 race point format.
Yeah, because you remember guys don't really points race anymore. You're racing for a win, and then you kind of start points racing in the playoffs. You don't hear guys say, "Oh, that was a good points day" when they finished 11th or 12th. Like that doesn't happen anymore. Like you go back to hearing guys say, "Oh, that was a good points day. We finished fifth, and then we won two stages. Got the basically max points." Like to hear that stuff again.
Yeah, that's a good point too. So, like, I would like the entire season to become important again. And it just feels like as long as you hit that check mark, you got that victory in your pocket, the rest of the season is irrelevant until the playoffs start.
Yeah, and then yeah, we'll probably see that in the very near future. Probably even as soon as next season. Probably 27 at the latest, but probably next season. But another thing is they did just announce that next year for the road courses and the short track packages that they're going to go back to what was it, 750 horsepower. So that'll be pretty interesting. Something fans have been asking for a long time.
You know what I want them to do? I want them to either fix the gear ratios or get rid of the fifth gear because it's ruined these short tracks, in my opinion. Getting
Yeah,
somebody, if they hit the corner wrong, all they got to do is downshift and they're back right back where they were. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see if them carrying more pace next season might maybe eliminate some of that, or if it'll just make it worse. I think that's probably yet to be known, but I think it potentially could work out for the better. But you never know, I guess, with this car.
oh, and and from what I've seen or what I've been hearing, people seem to be pretty happy with Goodyear, which is unusual sentence to say. Usually it's the
Yeah,
opposite. Um, but hell, man, if Goodyear can keep doing whatever they're doing with the tire, they've figured something out. I think they're on the right track to getting us good tire wear in this car. So I'm excited about that too.
yeah, that's definitely something that that needs to be better as well. Especially if they're going to be running the the stages and everything, make comers and goers a little bit more prevalent again with some 100 lap runs or whatever between cautions at some of these tracks. You don't really see very often guys anymore going from 25th to 5th in one run just because they saved the tires better. Which with the right stuff going, that could start happening again with more horsepower under the hood.
Yeah, it definitely can. And I think with the combination of everything that we're coming to have on this list here, it's on paper looking like a pretty good 2026 season.
Yeah, and no matter what anybody believes, I don't know if you saw any of Dale Earnhardt Jr. had Steve O'Donnell on his podcast this past week, and they kind of talked about the next gen car a little bit, and you know Dale being Dale, he didn't just play like the corporate role as Steve. He kind of asked some of the good questions that people would want to hear, or give some criticisms or whatever. Like, I haven't watched the whole thing, but um, that's definitely a good listen, because O'Donnell did mention that they had a platform in the beginning when it was like really competitive, and then as time has gone, like the teams have gotten so much better, and we're kind of almost back to where you're going to expect the same handful of drivers and teams to win every race again. But it's definitely a good listen. I've heard a lot of good things about it, specifically kind of just about the next gen car. So I would say give that a listen if you have some time.
I'm gonna have to probably on my drive to work. Best time to listen to a podcast, which is probably the best time for you guys to listen to our podcast too, on your way to work or on your way home from work.
Yeah, or those
Josh.
super early morning shifts like I have. I got 3 hours in the morning to do whatever I want.
Yep, that's what I was just gonna say. Josh has an early morning shift, so even, and you work warehouse, so that's probably the best time to do it as well. If somebody has
Yeah,
a job where they can kind of just float around on their own, not have to worry about somebody breathing on their shoulder.
yeah.
Anything else you think we should add here? Or is that about it?
Well, we've got. I mean, the only last thing we did talk about Vegas coming up. Vegas, Talladega, and Martinsville. We've got
That's
the
right.
the round of eight.
That's right.
We've got um, we've got Denny Hamlin leading the points coming in. He's 8 points to the good, with Blaney, Larson, and Byron also above the cut line, coming into this first race, with Bell -4, Elliott -14, Briscoe -14, and Logano -24. So it's going to be a really important race, especially for those three guys that are minus double digits to come out and get some stage points and get a top 10 finish, so they don't end up even further behind going into Talladega.
Speaking of which, since we're making our predictions anyway for the final four, who who do you have winning Vegas?
I I think a lot of people were upset when this happened last year, when Logano got eliminated and then put back in because of the inspection after the roval by Bowman failing. Logano
That's
went and
right.
won the next race and put himself in the final four, won the championship. History. I'm going to say history repeats itself again. Joey Logano stamps his ticket to the final four on Sunday.
Yeah, for me, uh, when it comes to the mile and a half, feel like I feel like it's been a really good Gibbs time. I don't know. I'm really kind of like leaning toward Hamlin on a Vegas win. Um, I actually don't foresee Joey making it to the final four this year.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I did have, um, one other NASCAR stats thing to mention. I mentioned the NASCAR Insights earlier, which ranks drivers based off of specific categories um, per track or whatever. Well, they've went and compiled the rankings for the next three races, and which playoffs drivers rank where in these particular categories. And of the eight, you've got Ryan Blaney, who leads in speed, long run, and passing as the number one driver in those three categories. Logano, they talked about at the Roval, he's the best driver at defense, so he's number one there. William Byron's the best driver on restarts. So those are kind of the five different categories that they look at for who might have the best pace, if you will, to win either of these next three races. So with that, Ryan Blaney will be right up there too.
Blaney's pretty good. this season. I mean, he's got to be a favorite anyway. I feel like if if Blaney goes to the Final Four, it's going to be off of either a Vegas win or a Martinsville win.
Or even Talladega. He's won like 4 or 5 races there now. I think 4. So it's definitely possible.
Oh, I didn't even know that. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was
And then we got to remember Josh Berry and the Wood Brothers slash Penske car won there in the spring. Um, Ryan Blaney started that race in the back in 35th and had one of his 7 DNFs and finished 36th. So hopefully history doesn't repeat itself there.
well. What about Dega? Who do you got for Dega?
If I have to pick a playoff driver, I'm going to take Ryan Blaney all day.
I could be wrong. I'm just going based off my own memory because I think we talked about it after Byron won. Was it the 500?
Yep.
Yeah, we talked about it then. Byron typically has, and correct me if I'm wrong, but typically good finishes at restrictor plate races. He just doesn't
Yeah.
lead a lot of laps.
Yeah, I think I remember what you're talking about. He just kind of shows up at the end.
Yeah, so I kind of feel like Byron. I don't know that he's going to win. I don't foresee him winning. It's gonna when it comes to these plate races, it's going to be somebody who's just really aggressive. Probably Joey's best shot there. Um, hell, even a Hamlin run there because we've seen it at Kansas. Hamlin's ready to be uh push and shove when it comes to trying to win these races. So even him, but I don't know that a playoff driver is going to win Talladega. But I think Byron is going to benefit from Talladega. I think Talladega is going to keep Byron in the playoffs to go into the Final Four.
Yeah, I'd say that's definitely a possibility because right now Byron is the cut line. Well, Byron and Larson are the cut line, but he's the last above Bell, so definitely needs a good run this weekend, and then if he can go and win, like everybody wants to win Talladega, like you don't want to end up running 36th at Talladega. Like if he can go and win there, then that obviously punches your ticket, but you don't have to worry about the next week, which is kind of another toss up.
It is, but I think I've already settled on my pick for Martinsville. I'll just go ahead and say it, but I feel like Bell is finally going to get it done this year at Martinsville and lock himself into the Final Four, making my Final Four Hamlin, Byron, Bell, and Blaney.
Yeah, it's definitely definitely solid, which I think I already picked Logano to win this weekend. So I would say that mine would end up being Logano, Blaney, um, probably Hamlin and Larson.
Yeah.
Or I mean, it's hard to pick against Bell too. I'd say Larson or Bell. I would probably pick
Yeah,
Bell.
it's tight.
I think
I mean, across the board. I think the weakest points are the 9, the 22, and the 19. Those are probably the weak, obviously because of the lower 3, but definitely the 9. I feel like he's just kind of no, not to, for lack of a better term, he's just kind of like a fart in the wind right now.
yeah.
I
Well, I
don't know.
think Logano has probably been the bigger fart in the wind, but
Yes.
I think Chase has the backing of the most popular to not be talked about in the same light as Logano. I think the best thing he had going for him all season was just as wildly consistent as he was without really any bad luck. Like he didn't have his first DNF until the week or two before the playoffs. Something stupid like that. And then he kind of bit the bad luck bug a little bit. Um, but I agree. Like when it comes to looking at just kind of overall speed and strategy, like I don't think they've been there all season, and I feel like the 5 and the 24 recently, probably the 24 more so, has been kind of in the same category. He's just kind of been irrelevant recently, and recently Larson hasn't been the Larson we expect either. So that fourth spot's definitely going to be really tight after Martinsville.
It really is. And I think after Talladega, we're going to see a real big picture of what Martinsville's going to look like because you're going to see people on the back end of this playoff system needing a good run at Martinsville. And you
Yeah,
know about how well that goes typically.
yeah, because Kansas can end a season just as easily as Talladega can, but you definitely want to be the guy in victory lane at Kansas and not even have to worry about next week at all.
Yeah, and somebody look for a walk off at Dega,
Yeah,
or even Martinsville. I'm pretty sure if anyone does a walk off, it'd be Logano.
yeah, he's definitely the most clutch driver there is in NASCAR today, so it wouldn't surprise me one bit.
Yeah, he's got one of the best crew chiefs. I'm a little bitter about that, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, to that point, the ball is on Paul Wolf to pit under green ahead of Ross Chastain on the last run of the Roval race was pretty epic. Um, to decide to pit in the offensive position, even though they knew they were going backwards. I don't know that that's probably a decision that I know 100%. You and I probably wouldn't have even made doing our own racing online.
100%
And
no.
they were
Absolutely
doing that
not.
with a real life NASCAR Cup Series championship in the balance, which that definitely takes some massive balls.
Yeah, Paul Wolf's a beast, dude. I love that guy.
Yeah, like if Logano wins, I think they mentioned it on TV. If Logano wins the championship again, you're going to look back on the Roval again this year, and you're just going to see that they went and took it for themselves. Like they didn't have to like he didn't go and win the race, anything, whatever. Like he was never a factor, but they didn't get put in by a tech infraction this time. Like they made probably the gutsiest call of the season and went and took it for themselves when Chastain didn't. So that'll definitely be like the highlight if they're sitting on the final stage at the end of the year.
Yep, and we'll be here whenever that moment comes up. Uh, and hopefully you'll be here with us, fellas. So, hell, leave a comment, give us a like. I know JS, or the Juicy Spider Network, put up some. It might have been on the gaming channel. I could be wrong, but they're probably in on the other side of the glass right now, on the other side of this podcast wall, shouting out some numbers to each other because they are pretty excited about some content they just posted,
Yeah,
um, specifically about doors. So
yeah.
maybe we can
One
get a
thing,
little real at the end.
yeah. One, the idea you mentioned before we went on air here. We might as well just say it to anybody that's listening to us right now. If you have a door in your house, go ahead and double tap your screen right now.
Yeah. Locate the nearest door and double tap your screen. Well, in this case, just press like, because I don't know how
Yeah,
shorts work.
yeah.
Um,
It's probably not double tap on just
they probably
actual
just pause
YouTube,
and
but
unpause.
don't listen to us. But if you have a door in your house, hit like and subscribe,
Yeah, you have to do that.
or on your
This
car.
isn't. Otherwise, the door will magically become unlocked. The boogeyman's going to be on the other side. Jared knows firsthand what that's like because you know what? Jared found a bunch of doors. He just forgot the one thing, and that was to like and subscribe.
Yeah.
Uh, and you're
If
about to
if
find out here why.
if you live in some place in the world right now that's still hot and you have a Jeep and you've got the doors off of it, still like and subscribe.
Yep. If for whatever reason you are living in a Jeep, or if you were just in a bad wreck and you're missing all your doors, but you're alive enough to watch the show, still leave a like and subscribe.
If you're Bear Grylls and you're living in a tent right now somewhere out in the jungle and you don't have a door, still like and subscribe.
If you're trying to hit that jump ramp in the infield at Bristol on NASCAR 25 and failed miserably in your stock car that has no doors, still like and subscribe.
Donald, that's pretty interesting. NASCAR stock cars do not have doors.
That's right.
You know, a V8 supercar does, though, and Shane Van Gisbergen is very, very familiar with those.
Yeah, Shane Van Gisbergen actually did like and subscribe. Fake news.
Yeah, we talk about him enough. You probably should.
Yeah. Let's put Shane Van Gisbergen's face all over the entire thumbnail. Just different angles of his face everywhere. I bet you he'll like and subscribe.
Yeah, yeah. You made a comment earlier that we should have a particular animal on the side of our next paint schemes. Maybe we just put Shane Van Gisbergen's face on one of our cars.
Yep. Shane Van Gisbergen, congratulations. Cosman from SplashNgoGraphics have made your face on the side of our cars.
Well, you heard it here first. Splash and Go has a new job.
Yep. Get ready, Cosman. And Nick, get that wallet ready.
Yeah, if we go along with that too, you will see that first on Vspeed.
Yep, Vspeed with the one and only Bradley Cooper.
Not the Bradley Cooper, though. Just Bradley Cooper.
Yep, just Bradley Cooper. Literally just.
You know, Donald, I think we've run off the rails enough. I think you should take us home.
Yep. Everybody, hop in, close your doors, like and subscribe. Let's wrap it up so these guys can get some sleep. I'm sure they're flailing their fist in the air right now, telling us to shut it down. So I'll take one nice little swig of this Juicy Spider energy drink real quick. You guys have a good one. We'll see you next time.